long have I been falling here for? It felt like over a year now. All I remember is tripping on Sonic Force 6. It sounds funny, but I feel like there's someone else here. But I don't know. Hey you, I know you're there. Say something.
You know, I think Sonic Adventure 2 was pretty good. Honestly, from what I've heard about Sonic games these days, I always gave it a worse impression. But this game made me feel otherwise. So much so that I think I'm gonna try out other Sonic games. Now, which one should I start with? This is a game I'm pretty excited to talk about. Over the past years of this channel, I've always said that Sonic 06 is bad, but recently, I actually beat the game. It's the first time I did, so I can make an actual review about this game. And oh boy is there going to be a lot talked about here. This is going to be a bit different from how I normally review games. There will be a lot more added, so kind of like the Persona reviews. Here's the main point of this review. Is Sonic 06 a game that deserves to be hated on? Is it really that bad of a game, or are people overreacting? The answer may be shocking, or maybe not. Anyways, let me just start. Normally, I would have started talking about the history of this game. Don't worry, I'll get to that. But I wanted to go over what people would expect from a Sonic game. This way, it would be easier to see whether this game really deserves its reception. Sonic games are a mixed bag. Some people really like them, some people really hate them. I'd put myself in the middle, not necessarily hating the series, and I can always appreciate it. 2D games would always be thought of as great, unless you're Sonic the Hedgehog 4. For the purpose of this video, I'll be focusing on games that came before this game. So in terms of 2D platformers, the last game to come out was Sonic Rush. It got pretty solid reviews and I wouldn't disagree with them. So 2D Sonic was still highly regarded by this point, with Sonic Advance also existing. Now in terms of 3D games, they were alright at this point. According to Wikipedia, this game is the 6th 3D Sonic game. So not only did it come out in 2006, it's also the 6th 3D Sonic game. The 3D game before this one is Shadow the Hedgehog, which technically isn't about Sonic, but it counts in a way. Shadow is important to the series, so think about it like that. But I know there are some people who won't. So the 3D Sonic game that came before this one was Sonic Heroes. Not a terrible game, but it wasn't as highly regarded as Sonic Adventure 2. So for the most part, 3D Sonic games were just okay. Luckily, I've played Sonic Adventure 1 till Sonic Heroes, so I get to have a decent idea of what to expect from a 3D Sonic game up to this point. Now here's the thing, this game is meant to revolutionize 3D Sonic, with it being the first Sonic game to be in a new generation of consoles, the 7th generation. So now with all that out of the way, you get a clearer picture of what I have to think of when I'm making this review. So now, will I be harsh towards the game, or did it do good enough for its time? Alright, so for the history segment, this is probably the first time I'm actually reading through the development of the game than just telling you some dates. Granted, I am getting all this info from the Sonic Wiki of all places, which I should probably use more sources to confirm. But I hope you understand that this video will be a long one. So I just want to go over some pretty interesting points along the dates and stuff. So Sonic the Hedgehog, also known as Sonic 06, which is what I will be calling it for the rest of the video, started its development in 2004. The goal for this game was to reimagine Sonic if he were in the real world. Oh boy, that was one heck of an idea. The game was planned to go back to the Sonic Adventure formula with how it plays and how the story was made. It was shown off at E3 in 2005 with its title Sonic the Hedgehog. It was supposed to come out for the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC, and one of those did not end up happening. If there was a PC release, it would probably end up being the best version, given that it probably would have been patched like crazy by now. Now after this, only bad stuff would end up happening with the development. First, Yuji Naka ended up leaving the Sonic team, which he claims he was fired. Second, the team ended up splitting into two teams. One team finished off Sonic 06, and the other made Sonic and the Secret Rings. One did fine, the other did terribly.
You can guess which was which. And after all that, the team simply rushed the game to get it out on the holiday season of 2006. So at the end of the day, there were a couple of factors that led to why the game came out the way it did. It was rushed, the Sonic team had to develop for 2 new generation consoles, which one didn't even come out until later in the development, and the team ended up getting split to make a game for the Wii. It now kind of makes sense why the Xbox version is a lot better than the PS3 version in terms of optimization, but it is pretty unfortunate to see why the game came out this way. Anyways, the game came out in December 2006 in Japan, and the earliest for the West was November 2006. What a shame to see. And now that only makes a point I will make later on a lot more plausible.
Wow, so many fun Sonic games. The original Sonic games, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and Sonic Mania. I'm just getting started with this. There's just so much to do, but I don't know what. Oh, maybe I'll look for other types of Sonic games, like racing and stuff. That would be pretty fun.
Huh? A third present? What does that mean? Wait, what's that light from below? The floor? Finally, something different's happening. Wait, isn't that a bad thing?
Here's where I would typically talk about the gameplay, as in how the game plays, how it controls, and other stuff. But I want to save that for later. For now, I want to enjoy the game a little. I'm probably the only person who would say something like that. Starting with this game's levels, they are interesting. Many of the levels in this game are similar or outright the same level for different characters. It's not like Sonic Adventure 2 where the levels would be a little different even though it takes place in the same area. They're built more like Sonic Adventure 1's levels where there would be different parts to that level. So take Windy Valley as an example. It will start at one part of the level, but after you go through a tornado, you start at the second part of the level. The layouts would be the same a lot of the time, and unlike the Sonic Adventure games, there aren't many levels that are just for a certain character, so you wouldn't see many levels that are just for Tails. Typically, if you play as other characters, you would play them within a level. You actually play as a lot more characters than you think. There are 3 different sides to the story mode, well actually 4, but that 4th one's just the final part of the game. So the 3 sides you play through are Sonic's episode, Shadow's episode, and the new character, Silver's episode. How the levels would play would differ depending on whose side you're playing. Sonic's episode includes levels that you would pretty much expect. Just get to the end with fast-paced movement. If you play as Tails or Knuckles, you would pretty much try and do an objective to help Sonic continue through the level. They are okay, but Sonic is the only character who has what the game calls super speed stages. These are by far the worst parts of a level, hands down. You would be running at an uncontrollable speed with a bunch of obstacles in the way. They can be so unbelievably hard to dodge. Turning just sucks too, and they can feel so long, but they're pretty short. Good thing there's only 4 of these parts. Shadow's levels would be a bit slower than Sonic's levels. He isn't as fast as Sonic, but the levels would feel pretty much the same. Get to the end. And as for the other characters, you would pretty much do the same thing as Sonic's side. Just help Shadow progress for the most part. For whatever reason, Shadow can get on vehicles in parts of the levels, and these vehicles wouldn't be optional either. You would have to use them. They're the worst thing to control. I don't know what it is with this game and making gimmicks hard to control. There are 4 vehicles you would use, and they would all have their own gimmicks. If you didn't know, these are probably included to feel similar to Shadow's game, Shadow the Hedgehog. I guess this isn't the Shadow we know from Sonic Adventure 2, but the Shadow we know from Shadow the Hedgehog. Finally, Silver's levels are a lot different from both Sonic and Shadow's. For one, he is the slowest of the 3. His levels are a lot more slower paced, but the difference is that it feels a lot more like a puzzle platformer than anything, and that's mainly because of his telekinesis. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to use this move, but it kind of sucks that his levels are a lot slower. However, the plus side to this is that the levels don't feel similar to anyone else's levels, but in general, his levels are pretty plain, but far from hard, unless it's that one ball mission. And no, I won't do the skip for it. There is one more set of levels, or rather, one large level, and it's the final level. After you beat all 3 stories, you get the final episode. In it, you have 2 levels, one long level and the final boss. The final boss plays a lot like Sonic Adventure 2. However, the level before that is so much more annoying than Sonic Adventure 2. There are 2 parts in particular that suck. Just like in Sonic Adventure 2, the last level has you play as everyone, and in this game, you play as everyone except Sonic for story reasons. The level is pretty normal in terms of difficulty except for Silver and Shadow's parts. You see, you are constantly getting sucked into these black voids unless you stop it by going to a statue. The world would keep getting torn apart by these voids until you stop it, so it would be pretty hard to progress without stopping them. However, there are just certain parts to Silver and Shadow's parts that make it so hard to actually beat it with no problem. But I'm not gonna lie, this was a lot easier to beat than Sonic Adventure 2's last level. That one was just clunky. And that's pretty much what to expect from levels of this game. For the most part, it would feel just like another Sonic game, albeit a lot more annoying to control through. As I mentioned earlier, the world of this game was set to be in a more realistic world than a Sonic universe. Now here's the thing, that already existed in Sonic Adventure 1 in its hub. However, this game wanted it to be more realistic, so they made the NPCs look a lot scarier. Oh yeah, there's a hub world in this game, and at least they could add it. I guess it makes the world of this game more immersive. Honestly, it's not that bad. The country that this game takes place in is Soleanna. There are 3 different areas in this game: Soleanna Castletown, Soleanna New City, and Soleanna Forest. All areas are pretty decent looking. They all feel pretty immersive, but the only problem I have with it is how big they all are. It takes so long to get from one part to the other. That may not be a huge issue with the Castletown and the New City, but it absolutely is in the forest. If you're playing as Sonic, running around here isn't bad, but if it were Shadow or Silver, it takes forever to get somewhere, especially Silver. Don't worry, I'll talk about their special traits soon. There are some things to do within this hub world. No more Chow, so don't worry about them. In fact, they don't appear in any 3D Sonic game that isn't Sonic Adventure. Anyways, there's a shop which lets you get some special gear. They're like the level up items from the Sonic Adventure series, so you don't need to look for stuff like that anymore. Honestly, I don't mind that, but you will need rings to be able to buy these things. Every character has different items they can buy, so you can't buy Sonic stuff if you're playing as Silver. There are a couple of ways you can get rings. You can get them after beating a level or doing some side missions. Now I don't know about you, but I would absolutely rather play a normal level than doing the side missions. The side missions are pretty whatever with nothing truly special going on in them. It would just be you needing to finish a task in some way, but it literally takes forever to load into these. And if you fail it, good luck in waiting for another couple of minutes just to retry it. The loading time in this game was not good at all. There are also some medals you can collect within the city, but get this, you don't get anything out of collecting them. And if you collect all of them, you literally get nothing. So unless you were really dedicated to this game, you just wasted a bunch of time if you thought you would get something out of these. But overall, the world in this game isn't that bad. It's definitely a lot more like Sonic Adventure 1 if anything. I just wish the NPCs weren't so cursed looking.
Yeah, man, that landing could have been softer. What has it been, 4 years? Well, I'm dead, so I guess time doesn't really matter.
Ah, so there was another person here. I knew it. What the? I did feel your energy here. Are you dead too? Dead? I'm alive, but I've just skipped dimensions. Are you saying you're dead? Yeah, I died by falling on Sonic 06. Sounds rough. I got here by tripping on Sonic forces. By the way, you say you're dead, but I don't see a halo. Now that you mention it, I shouldn't feel pain when I'm dead either, but when I landed, I still felt pain. Huh? That's pretty strange. But it seems like we're both Sonic fans. Yeah, also did you notice a third presence here? Actually, yeah, pretty recently. Huh. What the? Hey, what? Oh, call me Eve. Wait, we're both Eve. Fine, call me Mania since I vanished while trying to play Sonic Mania. Call me Forces for pretty much the same reason.
Mania, come here. I think I see something. In this vast gloomy darkness, what could you possibly find? What the? Oh man, all that Sonic stuff was really fun. Who knew there would be so many Sonic games and even media? And that music. I've played most of the Sonic games so far, but the one I haven't played yet was Sonic 06. I wonder where I can get my hands on that. Huh? What the? A paper? Oh, and it has instructions on how to get Sonic 06.
So you want Sonic 06, right? How about listening to these instructions and you will obtain it. Grab Sonic Forces and combine it with Sonic Mania. Put this message in between and put a single item that brings you personally bad memories on top.
What? Why is this so complicated? Well, I guess I gotta figure this out, huh?
Here's probably the moment you've been waiting for. I would say it all goes downhill from here. Well, not really. There's still music and the miscellaneous things I'll talk about, which aren't bad. But for now, it's gameplay. And let me start with the positives. Well, that was the positives, so now for the negatives. Alright, I'm just joking. There are a couple of positives I can think of. And for starters, it's cool that you can play as multiple characters. A criticism I have about Sonic Adventure 2 is how the two sets of characters were pretty much exactly the same gameplay wise. However, this game made them play a lot different from each other. So Long Shadow being a Sonic clone, and that goes for everyone too. There are 9 characters you can play as. Some play similar to each other, but everyone is different enough to feel like their own character. The controls are pretty much like the Adventure series. You can move around, there's a jump button, there's an action button, and some characters have a special action. As long as you've played a 3D Sonic game from Adventure onwards, you will know how to play this game. Now for the characters. As I mentioned, there are 3 different sides to the story. Sonic's side consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Shadow's side has Shadow, Rouge, and Omega, and Silver has Silver, Blaze, and Amy. Sonic plays as you would imagine. He is the fastest character, has his spin dash, and his homing attack. He can be pretty hard to control. Tails can fly and throw fake rings. I have no idea why he does that. He's not very fun to control, especially when he's in the air. Knuckles can climb, punch, and glide. This game doesn't need you looking for emeralds or whatever, so there's no reason for him to dig. Climbing is probably the most frustrating thing to control in this game. Shadow's a bit slower than Sonic. He can kick and home attack, but his homing attack has extra hits. He's alright, but his vehicles suck to control. Rouge is a mix of Knuckles and Tails. She can glide, climb, and throw bombs. Same problem as Knuckles with the terrible climbing. Omega plays like no other character. He can hover and shoot lasers. He isn't that bad to play, but one thing that sucks is controlling him on the ground and also trying to attack. Silver is the slowest of the 3 main characters. He's new to this game and you never get to play as him in any other Sonic game, apart from the spin-offs. I really wish he did get more appearances. I always liked him the most. He is a psychic that can use telekinesis, throw objects with that telekinesis, and also flow. I hate the fact that the objects you hold can deal damage to you, but for once, this character doesn't actually suck to control. Blaze is faster than Silver. This is her second appearance, with her first being in Sonic Rush the year prior. She has these weird flame attacks and a double jump. If you can guess, she sucks to control when you use her attacks. And finally, Amy is the slowest character in this game. She literally sucks to control overall. She can double jump and can attack using her hammer, but playing as her is always a bad time. If you've noticed, this game just really sucks to control. But if there was ever a new version of this game, I promise you, all these characters would actually be fun to play as. Apart from Amy, I didn't really hate playing as anyone in particular. So if the game actually controlled better, it would have been a lot more enjoyable. I've mentioned this before, but within the city, there are shops where you can buy some level up items. You would need to get rings for this, and I mean a lot of rings. There are a couple of ways you can do that, either by beating a level or doing a side mission. The level up items are only for the main characters, so you won't see anything for a character like Amy. There are a couple of times where you're required to buy them, but for the most part, it's optional optional to have them. As with every game that includes them, they just help make the game different. There are a couple of level up items that return from the previous games, but for the most part, a lot are new to this game. It's cool to see these return and it does make the game a bit more interesting, but I don't really see a point in getting them since they don't do so much to change the game. It really just makes the game easier, and you know I'm not about that. Some of these items would affect the gauge you see at the bottom of the screen. It is kind of annoying seeing that gauge at all times, even if you don't have the items for it, but that's really it for the gameplay of this game. The positives were the fact that the game can work. The negative is that it just doesn't work all the time. A lot more glitches than you would want, and everything controls terribly. Don't forget how dumb the physics can be at times. There's a multiplayer mode in this game. I'm not sure how many 3D Sonic games include this, but it's cool to see in this game. However, it's whatever. I've never played this mode with anyone, so shout out to my sister for helping me here. Reading about it, it seems that there were many sacrifices made due to time. You only get to play as 3 characters, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver. There are 2 modes you can choose here. First is tag mode. It's just co-op and the main goal is to get the Chaos Emeralds. Your lives are shared, so be careful with that. I'm pretty sure this is the first and maybe only Sonic 3D game to have a co-op, so there's that going for it. Not even Sonic Heroes had that. The second mode is battle mode. Although it's called battle mode, you're just racing each other to the end. It's not so much of a battle and more of a race. If you've ever played any other Sonic games in multiplayer and it had a race mode, you know what to expect. There were some balances with the level up items, and Silver can grind in this mode. That's pretty much all there is to the multiplayer. Pretty interesting choice of including it, but I don't know how many people played this mode. Here's something you guys probably didn't know about this game. It has DLC. You actually had to pay for this, so I'm sorry for anyone who bought it. I didn't because I was a kid when I got this game, so I didn't even know what DLC was. But guess what? We have the internet, so I can at least provide you with some information. The DLC includes 3 things: a very hard difficulty, a mode called Tag Team Amigo, and a boss rush. The very hard difficulty just makes the game a lot harder. You would have to take the harder paths in the levels and also go through some levels backwards. However, you have to buy every character's levels on their own, so you'll be paying about $2 per level. I'm not sure how many there are, but it just sounds pretty dumb. The Team Attack Amigo has you play 8 levels with 3 characters. 3 levels are with Tails, 2 with Blaze, and 3 with Omega. You can't get this mode if you have a North American PS3 since it doesn't even offer this in the store. And finally, you know what to expect from a boss rush. You play through a set of bosses, and it would be the boss you fight as a specific character, so like the Egg Wyvern for Sonic and stuff. However, you would have to buy each character's boss rush separately again. I don't know how, but I feel like the DLC was the true wasted potential of this game. I didn't think it was possible for the DLC to be worse than the base game. It's just one big mess.
Alright, so I've got Sonic Forces here since I own it physically, but I only have Sonic Mania on Switch digitally. Guess I'll open the game and just put it like that. Okay, so I just have to sandwich the note in between. But what about something that brings bad memories? Oh, worthless coins! Here goes nothing. Hey, maybe worthless coins aren't so worthless after all. I'm cured! Also, all my stuff just gone forever? Well, I did get the Switch back. Oh, but there's just no Sonic Mania in it. Well, this better have been worth it. Time to play. So this was the third presence we fell. It seems like he's about to play Sonic 06. I guess that's how we're all tied together. I wish there was a way to tell him not to play the game. But I guess all we can really do is just sit here and watch. Guess we should brace ourselves for what's about to happen. I feel like the moment we've been waiting for is pretty soon.
This game's music may be the best in the Sonic series. Alright, maybe I'm overselling it a bit too much, but it's definitely in the top 10. It is probably the most different to the Sonic games music prior to this. It goes for a more orchestral soundtrack for the story parts, while the levels would be a lot more in the vibe of the area. A fan favorite is definitely Crisis City's song. I have so many favorites that it's so hard to choose my favorite of all time, but if I had to choose, it's going to be Kingdom Valley. The whole level's song takes you on an entire journey, and that's something I haven't mentioned. There are different sections to each level, so every area has its own song. It makes the whole level just so much more immersive and adventurous. Don't mind the loading times though. His World is the main theme song of this game and it's alright. I prefer the instrumental variants rather than the vocalized version. Overall, this will forever be in my top 10 best Sonic game OST list. This game is quite the mixed bag when it comes to its art style. In some cases, I would absolutely praise it. In other cases, I don't really know what they were trying to cook. For starters, all the anthropomorphic characters look pretty decent. They all have tinier waists while their limbs are longer. It's not a bad design and I can argue that it's pretty cool looking. However, the problem comes with everything else. The characters may look fine, but the humans are all cursed looking, even Dr. Eggman. I'm pretty sure this is the first and only time you can see his eyes. I get why they chose to make Eggman look more realistic, so he could fit into a world full of other humans, but why do all the humans also look cursed? That's not even the only issue. The world itself also looks annoying. Like you have all these cartoony looking characters and then you have a realistic looking world. It seems like one of them didn't get the memo of the art style. There wasn't a balance to make both sides look fitting with each other. Apart from all that, the game is not well optimized. The frames drop a lot and it doesn't really matter if you're on Xbox or PS3. It does run a bit better on Xbox though. And of course, who can forget the load times? These are some of the most annoying load times of all time in any game. Let me explain. If you were playing a side mission, you would start with talking to the NPC and if you accept it, it puts you into a load screen. That's okay, but here's where it gets worse. It loads you into another set of dialogue with that NPC and then it goes into another loading screen. You get to the actual mission and when it's complete, you go into another loading screen for the results. It's absurd. And at the same time, the loading just takes so long. It goes without saying that this game was not very optimized. This even came out on consoles that you can update games on. It was never updated.
Here goes nothing. Good thing I got a PS3 copy of this game. So this is Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Looks pretty decent for a Sonic game on the PS3. That was not a good game. Why was it so hard to control? Why was the physics that janky? Why did the story make me cringe every second? Why was the game lagging a majority of the time? I have so many questions! Let me just take out the game really quickly. Huh? What the? That was weird.
You fool! You really thought I would just let you leave like that? I know! I'll just make you come to me!
Whoa, wait. My body, it feels weird. Hold on.
Here's the story part. This may be one of the biggest stories in a Sonic game. I'll do my best to go over all the main parts rather than just tell you all the details. The story is a lot like the Sonic Adventure games where all sides are connected to each other. I really do wish there were more games that did this type of storytelling. Maybe that's why people want a Sonic Adventure 3. There are 4 stories that I'll go over: Sonic, Shadow, Silver, and the final part. Without any more delays, here is the best in quotation marks story in Sonic history. Starting with Sonic's episode, it starts off at the Sun Festival of Soleanna. Eggman captures Elise, the princess of Soleanna, and Sonic tries to save her. He doesn't, but he ends up finding her at Dusty Desert. You fight the Egg Cerberus and then get to a safe place. Elise tells you about the flames of disaster that happened 10 years prior to this game's events. It ended her father's life and almost destroyed Soleanna. Sonic and Elise get back to Soleanna, and that's where Silver comes in. He mistakes Sonic for something else, which ends up making them fight. This ends up letting Eggman take Elise again. Amy stops this fight and Sonic goes after Eggman again. He ends up meeting with Knuckles and they go after him. They try making a deal with Eggman and Sonic gives up his Chaos Emerald. Eggman doesn't stay true to his word and traps them, revealing his plan to let the flames of disaster out once again. They somehow end up 200 years in the future and find Shadow and Rouge there. They go through Crisis City, the whole city's on fire, that tornado is carrying a car, and then they find Silver, Blaze, and a Shadow look-alike. Sonic and gang end up finding out that Elise ended up dying in a crash from the egg carrier. The team goes to a volcano and fights a fire monster called Iblis. You may have heard that that's the devil's name in Islam. After they defeat it, they go back to the present. Shadow and Rouge got separated from them though. Sonic sees that Eggman kidnapped Elise and he goes after her. This is the third time, by the way. He chases after a train that has Elise in it and saves her there. But then Silver fights Sonic again, which Shadow ends up saving Sonic. Sonic gets Elise away from Eggman. She starts crying about how stressful her job is and Sonic comforts her. They get back to the kingdom where Eggman once again, for the fourth time, kidnaps her. Sonic goes after him once again and ends up seeing the egg carrier blow up with Elise on it. Silver and Blaze were with Sonic and they opened a portal using the Chaos Emeralds to go back in time and stop that. Sonic gives the emerald he has to Silver to save his timeline. Silver's from the future, by the way, and went to the past to defeat the Iblis trigger. Sonic ends up on the egg carrier and fights Eggman, who's on the egg wyvern, and ends up saving Elise that way. And that's the Sonic story. Shadow's episode starts off with Shadow breaking into Eggman's base. Rouge tagged along as she wanted to steal the Scepter of Darkness. When they finish, Rouge and him part ways as she was going back to GUN, her agency's name, to return the scepter. We get lore about Kingdom Valley and how it was abandoned because of a project called the Solaris Project. Rouge ends up dropping the scepter, which had some sort of dark thing in it, and the dark thing decided to copy Shadow. It calls itself Mephiles the Dark. Don't go calling it a hedgehog. That's just the form it thought was convenient to take at the time. Mephiles ends up teleporting Shadow and gang to Crisis City, 200 years into the future. I already talked about this in the Sonic part where they go looking for Chaos Emeralds and stuff. Shadow and Rouge end up finding Omega in a Chaos Emerald. Omega is on standby mode, making him useless. Shadow and gang go to the volcano, fight Iblis, and make the portal. However, Shadow doesn't go through it to go after Mephiles instead. Rouge ends up in the jungle and goes looking for Omega. She told him to give Shadow a Chaos Emerald 200 years in the future, which he agrees to do and pretty much shuts down. Shadow finds Mephiles and refuses to join him on destroying humanity. He fights Mephiles, but they're evenly matched until Omega helps him out. Bear in mind, Shadow's in the future and Omega can move now because of Rouge's command. They beat Mephiles and chase after him while he was going into a portal to the present. Both Shadow and Omega end up meeting with Rouge, where Rouge tells him Eggman wants Shadow. Shadow ends up going after Eggman and they talk about Mephiles being linked to the Solaris Project. Shadow sees Silver and fights him, saving Sonic. Silver and Shadow both go 10 years to the past, where the incident of the Solaris Project happened. They see the incident happen and Mephiles and Iblis being separated from each other. Shadow and Silver go after Mephiles and Iblis respectively, and Shadow seals Mephiles using the scepter. He leaves it with a young Elise, who Silver saves, so Soleanna can find it. Shadow goes back to the present to stop Mephiles since he found a way now, so him and Team Dark go to do that. Shadow fights Mephiles one more time and with the help of Rouge and Omega, they are able to beat him. The end. Silver's episode is the last of the 3 and it starts 200 years in the future. Silver has been constantly fighting Iblis with the help of Blaze. However, he gets mad and wants to stop this because every time he beats it, Iblis just comes back. Silver ends up meeting with Mephiles and listens to his suggestion. Mephiles suggests that he should stop what triggered Iblis to happen in the first place and accuses Sonic for that ever happening. Then you go to the past to find Sonic, but Blaze and Silver get separated. Silver ends up meeting with Amy, who thought Silver was Sonic, and she leads him towards Sonic. Eventually, they get to him and Silver starts to fight him. Amy stops them and Sonic goes after Elise. It starts to make Silver think about how legit this mission is. Silver meets up with Blaze again and asks her about what she thinks about the mission, which she instigates beef with Sonic and Silver again. So they go after Sonic again. They end up fighting the Egg Genesis and get a Chaos Emerald. They return to Soleanna New City where Mephiles tells them to go to Radical Train to find Sonic. Silver decides to go alone and fight Sonic, which Shadow ends up stopping him from continuing. Shadow tells Silver to follow him to the past to see who Mephiles really is. They see the incident of the Solaris project and Silver decided to chase after Iblis. He gets to where the Duke of Soleanna is and helps him seal the fire of Soleanna and Elise. The Duke ends up dying, so Silver helps her out of the lab. Silver leaves his Chaos Emerald with the young Elise and goes to the present. He meets up with Blaze and explains everything to her. They go to Kingdom Valley only to see that Elise died when the egg carrier crashed. So he told Sonic to go to the past to save her, while Silver decided to go to the future to fight Iblis one more time. He fights Iblis one more time and when he defeats it, he tries to seal him using the Chaos Emeralds. However, he just couldn't do it. But Blaze suggests that she does it since she has a fiery soul. She succeeds in sealing it in her and tells Silver to send her and Iblis to another dimension. It was hard for him to do it at first, but he gives in and does it. And with that, Silver's future is finally saved. After you do all 3 episodes, you get the last episode. It starts off with Sonic getting killed by Mephiles. Now Mephiles didn't die from Shadow's episode. Shadow only beat the Mephiles clones. Anyways, Mephiles killing Sonic made Elise sad enough to cry and release the flames of disaster that was sealed in her. Shadow's side shows the aftermath of his battle with the Mephiles clones. He was about to take the Chaos Emeralds, but then they disappeared. Mephiles took them and used all of them to merge with Iblis. Once they do, they become Solaris. A light engulfs the entire Soleanna with pretty much everyone, including Dr. Eggman. They all get teleported to a void world and see that Elise was crying because Sonic was dead. Eggman gives his theory on what will happen with the timelines in Solaris. Bear in mind, Silver was in the future before teleporting to the void. Also, Blaze is nowhere to be found, so there's that consistency with the Silver story. Silver suggests that Solaris should be defeated in the past, present, and future since he exists in all timelines. But since Sonic is dead, that isn't possible. However, to get him back, the gang would have to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. So you pretty much play as everyone except Blaze to get the Chaos Emeralds. And if you've noticed, that perfectly makes 7 characters. Not a bad composition at all. After you get all the emeralds, Elise kisses Sonic and then he comes back to life. I'm not gonna comment on that because I'm sure you've already heard everyone else do that. Just know that's pretty weird to me. When Sonic is back, he becomes Super Sonic, and Shadow and Silver follow him, both becoming super as well. It's pretty cool seeing Silver can even become super. It's something I don't think you ever see in another Sonic game. Now with all 3 of them being able to fight, Sonic fights Solaris in the present, Shadow in the past, and Silver in the future. The fight plays kind of like a more technical version of the final boss in Sonic Adventure 2. Both games have their ups and downs, but I can't really say one or the other is better. After the battle, Sonic and Elise end up going to the past where the flames were still small. All she has to do is blow it out, so all this would never happen. But what's holding her back is the fact that if she does that, her and Sonic would have never met and all the events of this game would never happen. However, Sonic was able to convince her to do that, and with that, all was reverted and there's no more Solaris. And with that was Sonic the Hedgehog's story. Honestly, it's not such a bad story and it has potential to possibly be one of the best Sonic stories out there. It's more like it was definitely going for a more grand story, and for its attempt, it wasn't bad. There were some lows, but for the most part, the story was pretty interesting. The story being interesting is one thing, but the cutscenes are what takes the cake in this story. It looks as if it was motion captured, which just looks odd to me. You can really tell that they were trying to make this game very different with its voice acting. It's so different from what exists, and that's mainly because of the game trying to feel a lot darker than your typical Sonic game. And that's not to say Sonic games are dark to begin with. The music was really fitting though, and the sound design was interesting. For the first Sonic game to try making cinematic real-time cutscenes, it wasn't terrible. It is awkward, but it's not unacceptable. I will never get over the scene where Sonic becomes Sephiroth. The part where Shadow just kicks Silver will also always be amazing. This game is a journey. There are some highs, but many lows. There are rarely any middles, but overall, how is the game? There are many glitches, and I didn't want to go over them because you guys probably know about it. And if you don't know, then that would surprise me more. The physics are very wonky and just make no sense at times. Levels would always be around 10 minutes, but I would say that's kind of typical in a Sonic game if you play a level for the first time. I've noticed that in Sonic games, you would normally explore the first time you play a level, but every time you replay that level, you would get a lot faster in beating it. Anyways, the controls are terrible and are so frustrating. There are so many times where enemies would just spawn right in front of you. The world looks kind of ugly for a Sonic game, but not all the time. The NPCs are ugly for a Sonic game. Many of the mechanics are unpolished. Multiplayer could feel pretty lacking. The DLC is pretty lame. With that being said, the animal characters look great. The music is awesome. The concepts are pretty cool. Silver is a neat addition. The sheer size of this game is amazing, and the game definitely has made memories. No matter how much I look at this game, I can't call it good, but I can't say it's not worth checking out. You would have to be really patient with this game or it will be an unbearable experience. Somehow, a month after I beat the game, I felt a feeling of nostalgia towards the game. Somehow, I actually missed playing the game, and when I replayed it for this video, all the suffering still existed. I don't even know how to describe the feeling you get with this game. I would agree with what people say on the bad sides of the game, but I can't say I outright hate the game. I somewhat enjoyed playing it, but I don't know if I would ever replay it. To me, I see this game as a necessary Sonic game that had to exist. The 3D Sonic games, excluding Sonic Boom for the Wii U, were all pretty decent experiences. If this game didn't exist, Sonic Unleashed would have been a terrible game. Sonic Colors would have been so bad. Sonic Generations may not be as highly praised as it is now. Sonic Forces probably would have been even worse than it is, even though I think this game is better than Forces. And the only reason we never truly got another Sonic game like this one is because Sonic Team learned their lesson. All those games were at least thought of as better than this game. And if this game wasn't what made Sonic Team realize their wrongdoings, they would have made worse quality games by this point. You can see that they immediately improved some of the concepts they introduced in this game with the existence of Sonic Unleashed. That game mixed the real world and the Sonic world, but it fits with the Sonic art style. Without this game existing, modern Sonic wouldn't be as bearable as it is today. So if anything, I think this game should be praised a little more. I promise you that if Sega and the Sonic team decided to remake this game, and I mean completely remake this game, it would hands down be the best Sonic game to ever exist. It has all the ingredients for that, so they just need to cook them properly. And if that day ever comes, even if I stop making YouTube videos, I will make a video on it. You have my word.
Well, at least I didn't have to fall this time. But what is this place? This is the 4th time I'm in a place that isn't the real world. What is it this time? Sonic's gonna come to me?
Welcome, Eebworld.
What? Who are you? Wait a second, that voice! So you were that voice. and the person in my dreams too.
So you remember that much? I am Suthelion. Well, actually, I am Suthelion's second messenger. There are 3 of us messengers. I am the messenger of despair. Messenger 1 is the messenger of rage, while messenger 3 is the messenger of sorrow. Our boss has all 3 of our powers and even more. You've defeated the 3rd messenger with that foolish hamster that got himself killed. I won't show you any mercy.
Whoa, hold on. Second messenger, I met the 3rd one with a hamster? Sippy? That wasn't Sippy. Who was that?
Seems like you don't remember the past. Well, it doesn't matter. All that matters is your impending doom.
Come on, you really think I'll lose? I fought 4 people stronger than me and won in all those fights. And if you count the 3rd messenger you said I defeated, that makes 5. There's no way you can beat me.
I wouldn't be so sure.
He's fast. No. So what? You're faster than me, but there's no way you're stronger.
That's what I don't understand about you, Eve. Every time you see a threat, the first thing you try to do is fight it. It's like talking won't do.
Oh, you just wanted to talk. Why don't you just say so?
You fool. You were right in thinking I was a threat at first. I already told you. I'll show no mercy.
Such speed, such power. I've never felt anything like this before. I've already tried transforming into my maximum form, but that didn't work. Guess it only works in the anime world. What do I do?
Seems like you're spending too much time thinking. Too bad you're too weak. Oh no! It seems like you've gone unconscious. What should I do? Oh, I know. I'll end it now.
So you're the 3rd Eve. We've been watching you this entire time, and I think our purpose has finally come. Where am I? Why are there 2 me's? Long story short, we're you from different dimensions. Circumstances made us reside here for some time. Sounds rough. That may be so, but it seems like you're the one having a harder time right now. We've been thinking about it, and maybe we can help you. Huh? Help me? What do you mean? I still don't know where I am. You're in what we call the void dimension. It seems like your real body's unconscious right now. Take a look for yourself. Huh? Whoa, what the? Has that been there this entire time? Look, we don't have much time here. Our plan was to fuse with you and give you more power that way. Us 2 may not stay our own person anymore, but we've come to terms with it. Wait, what? I don't want you guys to lose your existence for my sake. It's okay, Ebe. I've been here for 4 years and the other Ebe has been here for 2. If we don't fuse together, we'll just stay here forever. So I'd rather be of use to you than stay here for all eternity. We'll just end up being a part of you. Yeah, fine. I'm not a fan of you guys disappearing for my sake, but I guess this was your fate. So what should I do now? You don't need to do anything. We both just have to put our hands on your chest while holding a worthless coin. We both have one on us. Wow, worthless coins are starting to feel very useful all of a sudden. Well, here goes nothing. Thanks for understanding. Guess you were destined to be the better Eve. I wish we could chat for a little longer though. Stop making this sadder. Let's get this over with so Suvelion doesn't defeat me. The time has come. Thanks, guys, for helping me. I'll make sure to defeat Suthelion's messenger.
Bye-bye. What? Where did he go?
What's wrong? Too fast for you? No, this has to be a fluke! Now it's my turn. What's happening? You were just unconscious a moment ago. There's no way you can be this strong all of a sudden. Let's just say I have help. Yeah, I sensed two other presences that felt oddly close. I see. It must have been those two Eebs. Oh, what a fascinating reunion! What, you know them? Know them? I'm the one who moved the games they tripped on in their way! Yeah! I don't want this to go on for too long, so I'm going to end it here. Take this! Don't think this is the end? Yeah. I didn't think I'd beat this fast just by fusing. And it doesn't seem like an anime transformation, so I guess I can just do this at any time. But man, it really takes a toll on your body. It's best to use it when I need to. Thanks, other Eebs. I won't let you down. What an oddly eventful day. All I wanted to do was play Sonic 06. I guess I didn't hate the game, but it could have been better. Now I know the story behind it all. I really am different from the both of you if I didn't really hate the game. I'll just take a break for now and prepare for what's next to come. Who knows, maybe I'll see Sippy. But then again, why did I see that hamster? I wonder what that was all about. Suthelion's messenger was strong, so it's time for me to get even stronger. I won't let a threat like that hurt me ever again! boss will like this. No, I can't ever show my face to him ever again. It feels disgraceful. What will he do with me? Dispose me? Replace me? This isn't over, Eebworld. The next time we meet, if my boss really forgives me, I will be stronger than you. Mark my words, you against all Soleanna messengers and the boss himself. You will regret ever messing with us.